Last week, I made a video about pitching appearances in which the pitcher received a win despite only throwing a single pitch. If you haven't watched that video or are unfamiliar with how that can occur, it basically goes as follows. A relief pitcher comes into the game with 2 outs in the inning and his team not winning, then proceeds to get the final out of the inning with a single pitch, such as a ground out or fly out. In the following inning, his team scores to take the lead. After his team takes the lead, that pitcher is then replaced by somebody else and the team does not relinquish the lead for the rest of the game and eventually wins. That pitcher who threw 1 pitch to finish the inning will earn the win despite doing seemingly the bare minimum. In the pitch count tracking era, which is 1988 to present day, there have been 167 occurrences of a 1-pitch victory, including 3 so far through the first 2 months of 2023. That got me thinking though, what about 1-pitch losses? Certainly, if there have been so many 1-pitch wins in the past 35 years, there must have been many 1-pitch losses as well. In theory, it might even be more common to see a 1-pitch loss, as a relief pitcher can come into the game and give up a walk-off home run. That situation is not uncommon at all. Important to remember that the pitcher throwing the 1 pitch is the one receiving the loss, not just the team losing. Sure, a reliever can come into a tied game in the 9th inning with the bases loaded and throw 1 pitch and give up a walk-off single, but he won't get charged for the loss. The pitcher who allowed the go-ahead base runner to score would be charged with the loss. We want to see pitchers who threw a single pitch in a game and took the loss as well. Well, the number of 1-pitch losses might surprise you, as in the pitch count tracking era, there have been only 67 occurrences of such a situation. 66 in the regular season, and 1 in the postseason. Just like with the wins, those 66 include 3 that happened in 2023 through May. Most of these 1-pitch losses more or less had the same sequence of events. A pitcher comes into the game late with the score tied or winning, and he proceeds to allow a hit that eventually comes into score as the go-ahead run. More often than not, it's a walk-off, as out of the 67 1-pitch losses, 45 of them were walk-offs, with 43 of those 45 being home runs. 43 out of 67 instances, a 1-pitch walk-off home run. That's roughly 2/3 of the games for those doing the math. Perhaps the most famous of those 43 walk-off home runs was this one right here, when Astros reliever Tim Burdack gave up a walk-off home run to Jay Bruce of the Cincinnati Reds to capture the National League Central Division title. In this September 2010 game, the Reds needed a win to clinch the postseason, and Bruce delivered. The first playoff appearance for the Reds in 15 years started thanks to a 1-pitch loss. Another one of these notable 1-pitch walk-off home runs also involved the Reds in a 1993 game between them and the Atlanta Braves. Heading into the bottom of the 9th, the Reds were up 6-2 over the Braves, needing 3 outs to win the game. However, the Braves chipped away against the Reds' bullpen. A double by Damon Berryhill was followed by a home run by Ryan Klesko to make it a 6-4 ballgame. Immediately after the home run, Otis Nixon doubled and Jeff Blauser singled to set up runners on the corners with 1 out. Reds closer Ron Dibble came into the game to face Ron Gant as the winning run, and Gant proceeded to hit a walk-off 3-run home run to win the game. A 5-run 9th inning capped by a 1-pitch loss. Since the winning run was the batter, Ron Dibble gets credited with the loss despite only allowing 1 earned run. It was his run that lost the game. Some of you might be confused when I mentioned there were 2 non-home run walk-off losses, as how can a pitcher pick up a loss if he throws a single pitch and doesn't allow a home run? If there was a runner on base, wouldn't the previous pitcher be charged with the loss? Normally that's true, but those 2 occurrences of a 1-pitch loss that was not a walk-off home run happened due to the automatic runner on second base in extra innings. The reliever came in with someone on second and proceeded to allow a 1-pitch single to lose the game. While 2/3 of these 1-pitch losses are walk-off home runs, what about the other 1/3 of occurrences? Again, most of those are typically the same situation. A pitcher comes in to pitch late in the game with his team ahead, allows a hit with his 1 pitch, and immediately gets replaced by another reliever who continues to allow base runners, making that initial pitcher's runner the go-ahead run, thereby giving him a 1-pitch loss. A perfect example of this comes from that sole postseason loss, which occurred in Game 1 of the 2010 American League Championship Series between the New York Yankees and Texas Rangers. With Texas ahead 5-1 entering the top of the 8th, Rangers starting pitcher C.J. Wilson allowed back-to-back hits to start the inning and was immediately replaced by reliever Darren Oliver. Oliver then walked back-to-back hitters to load the bases for Alex Rodriguez. Relief pitcher Darren O'Day comes in from the bullpen to replace Oliver, and on O'Day's first pitch allows a 2-run single to A-Rod, making this a 5-4 game. O'Day was taken out following that hit, and the Yankees continued to rally, eventually taking a 6-5 lead. That would be the final score of the game as the Yankees held on to win. That 6th go-ahead run was scored by A-Rod, and since O'Day allowed him to reach base, he gets charged with the loss despite throwing just a single pitch. Most of the time, it's a hit allowed, but not always. In a July 1992 game between the Boston Red Sox and Minnesota Twins, Red Sox reliever Greg Harris came to the game in the 7th inning with 2 runners on base and up 2 runs. Harris, on his first pitch, hits the batter Kirby Puckett to load the bases, then immediately gets taken out of the game. All 3 runners on base would end up scoring, with the hit by pitch from Harris being the go-ahead run. 1 year later, in a game between the Philadelphia Phillies and San Francisco Giants, Giants reliever Michael Jackson, yes, Michael Jackson, came into pitch in the top of the 14th inning, allowed the first batter to reach via an error, and was taken out after just 1 pitch. That batter came in to score, and the Phillies held on for the win. A 1-pitch loss where the 1 pitch was an error, probably one of the worst ways to lose. Other than those 2 mentioned games, there is only one other instance of a 1-pitch loss where the pitcher did not allow a hit, and this one in particular is unique from the other 66 1-pitch losses. What makes it unique? Well, this game is the only instance of a starting pitcher taking the loss. In a 2021 game between the Atlanta Braves and Miami Marlins, Marlins starter Pablo Lopez hit Ronald Acuna Jr. on his first pitch of the game. Following a confrontation, Lopez was ejected and left the game in what has to be the quickest occurrence a pitcher has ever been ejected in a ballgame. Later that inning, Acuna would come in to score, and since the Braves held the lead for the entire game, Pablo Lopez got charged for the loss. Probably the only time ever in MLB history a starting pitcher ever took a loss despite throwing just a single pitch. And in case anyone was curious, no, there has never been a 0-pitch loss. Under old rules, it was impossible. However, thanks to the ghost runner at second base in extra innings, it's theoretically possible now. An example of this happening could go as followed. A pitcher comes into the game for the first time in the bottom of the 10th with the game tied. He attempts to pick off the runner on second before his first pitch, but the ball is thrown wild, allowing the runner to advance to third. After the error, the pitcher then commits a balk, forcing in the winning run without a single pitch thrown. Possible in theory, but only time will tell when that will happen. We've seen many 1-pitch losses in Major League Baseball, and we will continue to see them in the future. It's the ultimate, least amount a pitcher can do to lose a Major League Baseball game.